I was never supposed to be home early that Friday. The project meeting in Lahore got canceled at the last minute, and I figured I'd surprise my wife. She always said she loved surprises. At least, that's what I used to believe. It was around 5:30 when I pulled up outside the house. Her car was already in the driveway, which immediately struck me as strange. She usually stayed late on Fridays. I remember thinking how nice it would be to finally spend an evening together, maybe cook dinner side by side, laugh about the week, even talk about that trip we kept postponing. But the moment I stepped inside, something felt wrong. The air was too still, too silent, like the house itself was bracing for impact. Then I heard it, a low laugh, a man's laugh. For a second, my brain refused to process what that meant. I froze in the hallway, fingers still grazing the door handle. The sound came from the living room, curtains drawn even though daylight still slid through the edges. My heart pounded so loudly, it almost drowned out their voices. "Stop," I heard her whisper. "He might come home soon." "Relax," a man replied, amused. "You said he's always out late." I don't remember dropping my keys, but the sharp clatter against the floor snapped the moment open like a wound. She appeared in the doorway almost instantly. Her hair was messy, and she was wearing my old college sweatshirt. Behind her stood a man fastened halfway into his shirt. It took me less than a second to recognize him. "Arif, my co-worker." "Ollie, what are you doing home?" she stammered. "What does it look like?" I said. My voice was calm, but inside everything was shaking. Arif opened his mouth to speak, but I lifted a hand to silence him. "Don't. Just don't." He left without another word, the door slamming behind him. Then it was just the two of us, trapped in a suffocating silence that used to feel like home. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I just walked to the couch, the one we picked together after arguing for hours over colors, and sat down. She stood there, trembling. Was it just him? I finally asked. Her hesitation told me the truth before she spoke. 6 months, she whispered. I laughed, but the sound coming out of me didn't belong to me. 6 months. That was exactly when I had started working late, trying to save for the down payment on the house she'd always wanted. While I was busy trying to build our future, she had already abandoned our present. She cried, apologized, said it didn't mean anything, said she felt lonely, unheard. Maybe she was right about some of it, but none of it made her betrayal any less cruel. I had been tired, yes, but loyal, faithful. The weeks after were cold and mechanical. We spoke only when necessary, ate separately. She kept trying to explain, to fix things, but I had nothing left to give. Then one night, alone in the living room, I opened our shared laptop. Buried in her folders was a collection of screenshots, chats, pictures, inside jokes, plans. She hadn't even bothered to delete them. Reading their messages hurt more than seeing them together ever could. That's when I realized it hadn't just been physical. It had been emotional. They joked about me, called me predictable, oblivious. Something shifted inside me that night. At first, revenge never crossed my mind. But after seeing how easily they laughed at my expense, a quiet resolve formed. I didn't want to fight or scream. I wanted her to feel what I had felt. The slow burn of humiliation, the sting of her own choices. So I began to play my role. I told her I forgave her, that I wanted to rebuild, start over. I smiled more, made her favorite coffee, even suggested a weekend trip. I let her believe hope was returning. She didn't know I had already sent an anonymous message to Arif's wife, complete with proof. When everything collapsed, it was ugly. Arif's wife called my office. Soon the whole workplace knew. He lost his job. Chaos ripped through his family. When Arif showed up at our door, shouting, that's when she realized it had been me. She screamed at me that night, calling me heartless. You ruined his life, she cried. He ruined mine first. I said, and I meant it. She broke down then, sobbing, begging, saying she made a mistake and we could still fix it. But I knew I didn't want to fix anything anymore. My heart had left long before my body did. The real awakening wasn't catching her. It was understanding how long we'd both been pretending. Our marriage had died long before her affair. I had spent years trying to provide instead of being present, and she had been so desperate to feel seen that she forgot what loyalty meant. We were both at fault, just in different ways. I filed for divorce quietly. She didn't fight it. The day I moved out, she stood by the door looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "I didn't want it to end like this," she whispered. "Neither did I said. "But maybe it needed to." A year has passed now. I live alone in a small apartment overlooking the city lights. Sometimes my hand still drifts toward my phone to text her, but I stop. The anger is gone. What's left is a dull ache, like an old scar, no longer bleeding but permanent. Strangely, I'm grateful. If I hadn't come home early that day, I might still be living a lie. That painful moment became the start of something new. It taught me that love isn't measured by grand gestures or blind forgiveness. It's measured by honesty, even when it hurts. And walking away was the most honest thing I ever did.